Hey guys, Chris Morrell, Revolutionary Canine. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning here in Albany, Georgia, and just wanted to post a video to talk about the prong collar. Now, the prong collar, which is this little middle device here, is a huge controversial topic when we are talking to clients, potential clients, random people out in the world about training their dog. Now, because this looks like a medieval torture device, people say that they do not want to use this on their animals. This along with a choke chain or an e-collar that people like to just call a shock collar, and I get it, I understand, it looks crazy, but the majority of these people, actually I would say 100% of these people, have no clue how this thing really works. Now, when you see this, yes, it looks like it has some sharp points on there, and then it's jabbing into the dog's neck, and the dog doesn't like it, so therefore we're not going to use it on your animal. Right? Okay. Well, let's talk about the prong a little bit and tell you or inform you a little bit, educate you, if you will, on how it actually works. Because I do use prong collars. I use luring with food. I use a lot of positive training and praise with food, with a toy, whether it be a ball or a bumper. We do use a flat collar, we use a prong collar, and for certain clients that wish, we condition for e-collar. Now, we're going to get into all those other collars here, but for this video, we are only talking about the prong collar because this seems to be the biggest topic of conversation when you talk about training a dog. Now, the thing about the prong collar, first, let's talk about the buckle collar. So you have a standard buckle collar, and when I say buckle collar, I mean the flat collar that may have a design. You may have the dog's name embroidered in it. It's just a nylon or a leather strap that buckles in the back. Now, it has a D-ring on it, so you can clip the dog's credentials or their leash to. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having that collar. However, if that dog pulls, if it starts to pull away from you, that buckle will actually start to impinge the trach. It impinges the way the dog breathes. So that's why you hear the dog when it's pulling out in front. And that actually is going to damage the dog's trachea. All right, so we can have several complications because of that. The prong, let me take a couple of these out so I can show you on my arm what it actually does, and then you can see for yourself. The prong will actually collapse down around the musculature of the dog's neck and keep its trach completely safe. Okay, so almost made this thing a little bit too small. All right, so if you see this thing on my arm, imagine this being the dog's neck, right? This is the D-ring here that you would attach the leash to. Now, when you press this D-ring, it's going to collapse this part down. Now, I'm going to pull this pretty hard. It is not going into my skin. As you can see, the skin's not broken. I'm not bleeding or anything like that. These are actually very, very blunt pieces that are on here, and as soon as I can get this thing off, I'll show you. All right, so there's nothing sharp about these edges. Okay, this is a blunt piece on here that will not so much as even scratch the dog if you use it correctly. Now, there are trainers out there and there are people out there that don't know exactly how to use these prong collars, so what they do is they end up ripping the dog and jerking it around by the collar. That's not what we're wanting to do. We want this to apply some slight pressure to get the dog's attention. And also this little jingling chain, okay, it's all part of the communication with the dog. When you're walking the dog on the leash, okay, now dogs don't communicate the way we communicate. Never in the history of canine companionship have you been able to just start talking to your dog and they understand what you're saying. Now, yes, we can train a dog vocally to understand sit, to understand down, to understand here, all that. That's not what I'm talking about. But you just can't sit there and have a conversation with your dog and say, hey, I need you to slow down just a little bit to start out with, right? So what this collar does, it allows for us to communicate. The communication is from the handler to the dog by way of the leash. Now, again, we are also using food, we're using toys, we're using things to get the dog motivated, but the collar is used just as a tool to help you train your dog to not pull or to train it to do certain things. Now, one of the deals with the prong collar is you can send correction. All right. Now, a lot of purely positive trainers out there will say we'd never use a prong collar because it damages a dog or it's harmful to the dog. You have to respect your dog. Right. Okay. How many of you out there are parents? By show of hands. Okay. How many of you are purely positive parents? Right. How's that work out for you? You know, little Timmy is only going to do as much as he wants to for a treat. Okay. So meaning at some point your dog is going to see something off in the distance. He's going to get distracted by something that is a whole lot more, or what he feels like is a whole lot more rewarding than that little treat in your hand. That's where these slight corrections come in at. All right, so these aren't hurting the dogs. These are, it's nothing that's bad for the dog. It's not harmful in any way. But what it does, it allows for you to communicate better with your dog. So the way these things actually work, they collapse down around the musculature of the neck, and these collars here, they are Herm Springer collars, which is the only collar I would use in this application. It actually has a little plate, okay? And if you look, I'll see if I can't grab a couple more of these so you can see this cool little feature about the Herms that you don't find at your box stores. Notice here, notice how the prongs are going in this direction. On this side, it gets to the buckle or the plate, and they actually go to the other side, right? Okay, so now what this does is this gives you the controllability to correct from either side of the dog. A lot of times you'll see, like if you go to your big box store, your pet stores, you'll see all these prongs actually going in the same direction, okay? Now, what that does is that will give a different correction whether you are on the right side or the left side of the dog, okay? We want the corrections to be pure. We want the corrections to fit the crime, so to speak. You don't want to overcorrect a dog that's really not doing anything bad necessarily as far as like pulling or anything like that. We want to teach the dog leash pressure, and we do so with food, with praise, with getting the dog excited to follow us, and then we start to incorporate the prong, which allows for a little bit more controllability of the dog. So when you are talking about dog training, I definitely would not rule out a tool like the prong collar just because it does make life a little bit easier. Now, I'm not saying that this is a go-to. Now, this is just a tool. We don't want to use this tool to mask real issues. We just want to use this tool to aid us to make the dog better. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me, shoot me a text, leave a comment, whatever. I'll be glad to help out any way I can, and I hope you enjoyed the video on the prong collar. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.